Thank you again to everyone for being here. I appreciate your time and appreciate you coming out and spending time learning about social media. Most of us that are here today, the panelists, the keynote speakers, we love talking about this. And we've been joking around as far as the keynotes have been joking around. The hardest part is getting us to shut up in 20 minutes. So I'm going to dive right in so that we can get through some of this. The one thing that I like to throw out at the beginning is if you're not establishing relationships through social media, stop now. If you're not trying to build relationships and build in engagement with the people that you're talking to and that you're working with and that you're tweeting and following and liking, you need to stop and rethink what it is that you're doing. Focusing on return on engagement and how building relationships can be the secret to developing that social engagement, which leads to the return on the investment. How many of you that have been in this for a little while remember the first time that you tweeted or the first follower that you had? How many of you remember the first time that you were on Twitter? For me, May 14th, 2008. That's when I signed up and tweeted for the first time. Since then, I have published well over 177,000 tweets. I told you I have a problem shutting up. I'm just telling you now. How about the first time that you got a like, you published a blog post or a video? And how about the first time that you learned what an avatar is? And some people are sitting there going, I still don't know what an avatar is, but that's okay. There's no silly questions. The point being is we all had these victories, these small victories that we kind of celebrated to ourselves. You know, it's funny, when I jumped in and really got involved with social media several years ago, I would talk to people that weren't in social media, and I would be all excited about what I was doing and tweeting and on Facebook, and they literally looked at me like I was nuts. They looked at me like, what are you talking about? And they just didn't get it. And it's funny, to this day, to a lot of us that have been in this for years, we still run into people that have that deer in the headlight, I don't know what you're talking about look on their face. And it's hard sometimes that I've got to remind myself, I used to be that person. You know, I was sitting there tweeting thinking, okay, I want to ask somebody what an avatar is, but I'm embarrassed. I don't want to ask. But keeping in mind that this social community that we're all part of, and more, that's the way the world is working as part of a social community, it's kind of an all-inclusive community. It's something that you can ask those questions. You can ask, how do I do this? How do I engage? What happens? What's the best way? So, talking about engagement, without engagement, what happens within the world of social media? Well, for one thing, social media fails on a lot of levels. If you're not engaging and if you can't bring engagement about, it's kind of failing at its purpose. Not only engagement, but just connecting and sharing and teaching others. Obviously, business owners become frustrated because, see, I feel sorry sometimes for business owners because they have these consultants such as myself, people that are fans of social media, people that love this are going to them and saying, you've got to do social, you've got to do social, you've got to do social. Business owners get tired of hearing that after a while. And so in some ways, or in some instances, they jump into social without a plan. They don't see it working for them, and they get very, very frustrated. That business owner says, well, it's not working. It didn't work for me. Of course, that was 2 months after they started. But all in all, our industry suffers too. It's kind of like if a business owner has a bad experience with social media, they tell everybody. Hey, we're all the same way. If we have a bad experience, we're going to we'll stop people on the street and tell them about the bad service we got or the bad experience, versus highlighting the success stories and putting the time, energy, and effort into social media to make sure that it works. So when it fails, everybody suffers. What about numbers in social media? We all get on Twitter. We're all on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google+, et cetera, and we see people with tons and tons of followers. We see people getting likes after likes after likes. We see people with thousands of views on YouTube. Does that matter? Not necessarily. It can matter, but that's not what engagement is about. Numbers by themselves do not drive engagement. Numbers do not equal engagement. Relationships return engagement to you. You can build and establish relationships in social media that will provide a return on investment, whether you have 2 followers or 200,000 followers. It doesn't have to be a large number of followers or fans or people that are sharing your information to drive that engagement. It has to be the right people that are doing it for the right reason. So the question comes up, how do you build that engagement? You build it by building strong relationships. Engagement comes from people that know, like, and trust you. Or at least like and trust you, or maybe know and trust you. Maybe they don't like you. But it comes from being able to engage with people that have your best interest at heart and will help promote you. So, here's kind of the way that I look at this. You start out by building relationships. And on the surface level, that may sound like a little bit of fluff, but you start out by building relationships with people that you know will help promote you and people that you genuinely care about and that you want to be part of their network. I use the term alliance, but network, interchangeable terms. You build your relationships. You work with people, colleagues, friends, coworkers, family, people half a world away, whatever the case may be. You build those relationships, and then you build an alliance with those people. I'm very fortunate with the time that I've spent in social media. I've been able to build some very strong alliances. I've been asked to be part of some strong alliances. One being the reason that I'm here, thanks to Rochelle and Haley and Chelsea and Ted and a few other people. But there's also other alliances that I have built over the years that we support each other. If we have something going on, we shoot an email out saying, hey, new project that I'm working on, can you help me promote this? This is something that would benefit your network. Can you help me get the word out? So build the relationships, and then you start building these alliances that make sense. It could be similar industry. It could be a completely different industry. It could be somebody with marketing connections or media contacts, whatever the case may be, depending upon what you're trying to accomplish. From that, you start building your engagement. You lean on your relationships and your alliances to help build the engagement, get the likes, get the shares on what you're trying to publish or what you're trying to promote, or even projects that you're involved with, whether it's nonprofit or commercial. Through these relationships and these alliances, you can build that engagement. So the question comes up, as far as building those relationships, how do you do it? I look at it in 2 different directions. You build relationships online, you build relationships offline. Building relationships online truly takes consistently connecting with the people that you want to build a relationship with. If you pay any attention, and Rochelle has told me this on numerous times, I'm on there every single day, almost without exception. Most of us that are deep into social media are that way. We're there every single day. Rochelle's told me, she said, if I didn't get a good morning from you, you actually said when I was on vacation, you thought there was something wrong because I took a few days off, which is rare for me to do. And Rochelle was asking her sisters if they had heard from me, because that's how consistent I am with connecting with people. But you consistently connect. And as someone in social media, whether you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for a firm or you're doing it for a nonprofit, whatever you're using it for, decide which platform works better for you and be consistent. If it's YouTube, then you're consistently posting videos. If it's Pinterest, you're consistently pinning. If it's Twitter, you're consistently tweeting, and so on and so forth. So consistently connect. The second point, which I think is really the most important, is you promote other people. We've all heard, if you've spent any time in social media or talking about social media, we've all seen and heard the people that constantly promote themselves. That's the quickest way within social media to lose your audience and to have people turn their backs on you, is by promoting yourself. Promote others. Work to promote the relationships that you have built. Work to promote strategic partners, maybe people in your supply line as far as a business is concerned, people that you work with, colleagues, others, but promote others. And then the last point is value and respect those relationships. If you spend any time within social and using these tools to try to promote others and to build relationships, you're going to have somebody that you know ask you to either promote something, share something, do something that you're not comfortable with. Tell them. Be honest with them. Say, I don't think this is the right fit for my network. Here's why. I'd be happy to promote something else for you, but I'm just uncomfortable with that. If they're truly with a good, strong relationship, a good, strong alliance partner, they're going to understand that. Same thing is true on the other side of the coin. If they ask you, or if you ask them and they say the same thing, they say, I'm not really comfortable. I don't think that's a good fit for my network. Respect their wishes and say, okay, maybe next time. So value and respect those relationships. What about as far as offline conversations? Let me see a show of hands. How many people talk in a social atmosphere with people and then make an effort to meet them in real life? Very good. That's what you should do. Build those relationships offline as well as online. From an offline perspective, I encourage you to meet regularly. If you have an alliance partner or someone that you're developing that relationship with, I would go meet them at their place of business. A couple of different reasons. You see how they operate. You see what's going on in their world, their environment. You also find out things that are important to them that you may be able to promote as you move along. So meet regularly. Make connections. One of the most valuable things that you can do for your alliance partners in building these relationships and building your engagement is make connections for them. Go to an event together like this, or like a chamber function or a networking group. Take somebody with you that you're building this relationship and this alliance with and introduce them. Literally spend the day or the event or the evening introducing them to people that you know that they don't know. You're spending time developing that relationship by helping them out. And then the last point on building relationships offline is never assume. Never take for granted the people in your network that you're trying to build these relationships with. Here's why. How many of you in here feel like you're so busy you can't find enough hours in the day? Let's see a show of hands. Guess what? Everybody that you talk to is the exact same way. So never take their time for granted, because if you do, you're going to damage that relationship. We talked about meeting at their place of business. Set the meeting up. Don't just stop by. Do things that, again, it's kind of along the lines of tweet like you want to be tweeted. You treat people the same way that you want to be treated. You don't impose upon them. You ask permission. You try to help them. So why do we do all of this? Other than realizing that return on engagement, that return on investment, why do we put all of the time, energy, and effort into making this work? Well, I'm glad you asked. One thing, you can develop some incredible friendships through building this network. I consider the Ventura sisters 3 very good friends. We've talked for how many years now, and this is the first time we've met face to face. Just met Marie, who we've talked online for a few years now, just met her face to face. You build friendships. It inspires you to do your best. Now for me, this is a big deal. The worst thing in the world for me would have been to come here and fall on my face in front of everyone, especially with all the hard work that they have put into this event. So it inspires you to do your best. It's funny, some of the keynote speakers were joking around as far as working on our presentation starting today. Don't worry, that's not really the case. Well, not for the most part. But it inspires you to do your best and to strive to do better. This network, these alliance members, these relationships can be a sounding board for ideas. Bounce your ideas off of those people. They may tell you that you're nuts, and that's okay, because it may save you a lot of heartache, a lot of money, a lot of whatever. It's a reality check. Get to know these people well enough and make sure that they realize that, hey, if I'm going down the wrong path, please tell me. Be that sounding board, be that reality check. It gives you the ability to learn. That's one of the greatest things I think about social media in general, social networking and all of these platforms, is it's an incredible learning tool. I have learned so much from being in social media that I wish it was around 20 years ago. It gives you the ability to learn, and you pay it forward. One of the key things in this world, I think, is paying it forward. Helping out others, promoting others, helping them realize the value of social media. But we'll step back for a minute and say, let's not jump into this without a plan. Have a reason, have goals in mind. Go back to one that's been used for years called SMART goals. SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. I can't tell you the number of conversations I've had with business owners that say, okay, I want to get involved in social. What do I need to do? What platform do I need to use? I have no freaking idea. I mean, let's sit down and talk about it. I mean, what is your marketing plan? What is your business plan? How do you approach? How do you do this? What are your goals? And it's funny because as a consultant, I start having that kind of a conversation with a business owner. And what really surprises me and on some level scares me is they don't have answers to those questions. I'm like, okay, we're talking about marketing and social, but these are business questions. What are your goals? What are your plans? So as you jump into social or as you're looking at what you do in social, have goals in mind. That's how you measure any return that you can get on engagement and investment. You measure it against the goals that you have. Set the goals down and then set them in motion. So talking about engagement and going back to what Rochelle had said originally, that I can get people to like anything that I post. I may have to try that later and see if it actually works. My engagement is I'm out there every day. I'm out there engaging with people online. I'm talking with people. I'm trying to build those relationships offline as well as online. And I'm not going to kid you, and they'll back me up. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of an investment of time. If you walk away from this today saying, I'm not sure I want to get into social because I can't invest the time, that's okay. But you know going in that it is an investment of time in something that you use every day. I use a lot of different platforms, not only because I need to know how the platforms work and interact, and also how to recommend those for people that I work with, but because I want to know. I'll be the first to admit, I resisted for a long time getting on Pinterest. A long time. I'm like, I just don't get it. I mean, I got it, but I'm just like, I just don't want to do it. But I jumped in, I'm on Pinterest. If you didn't know, there is a guy version out there because guys like to have their own things called Gentle Mint. And we were talking about that in the green room. And, you know, a few of us have accounts, but that's about as far as it's gone. But I use a lot of different platforms to see how I can connect with different people and have different goals for every different platform. Promote. Not patting myself on the back, but Rochelle and Haley and Chelsea will back this up. I promote people all of the time. I feel like, you know, I have built a large following, and I feel like it's a good way to help get the word out is to promote and promote and promote. Quickly, I'm going to go through a couple of relationship stories because I've been giving the sign that I need to stop talking soon. A little bit over a year ago, a friend of mine, former co-worker, committed suicide. I promise this is going to get happy before I'm finished. He was actually the person that got me started using Apple products. I bought my first Apple product from Tommy, and good guy, had a family, knew the family, just had some demons inside that he couldn't deal with. And then, he took his own life about a year and a half ago. Well, I'm very transparent on social media, as I encourage everyone to be. Great way as far as building engagement is to be transparent. Well, a lot of us that have knew Tommy and worked with him, we had put it on Facebook. We put it out different places that we were at the funeral, at the service, and things of that nature. Well, and I posted that on Facebook because we were sharing memories of our friend. Later that night, I went to a networking event with, again, some friends and colleagues. One, because I had committed to go to it. And two, let's be realistic. It was trying to get my mind reset after the events of the day. Well, got ready to leave where we were at, where the networking event was at, and had dinner and drinks, and we were getting ready to leave. Went up to pay, and the woman at the register said, "Which one of you is John Lusher?" And it's kind of funny whenever people ask that. It's always two thoughts that go through my mind. I wonder who this is, and Oh, crap. So you just never know. But she asked, and she said, your dinner's already been paid for. I'm like, what do you mean it's already been paid for? She said, yeah. She said, somebody called in and paid for your dinner. And I'm sitting there scratching my head, and I'm talking to the people that are with me because we're all supportive of each other in a social realm. And we started trying to figure out, and she said, yeah, she was from somewhere up north. Well, our first thought was Julia Rosine, which is out of Canada, because that's where we were thinking up north since we live in Virginia. And she said, no, she said it was some kind of she said it was a jewelry lady. And I instantly made the connection. My dear friend, Julianne Paulson, on Twitter and Facebook and things, our jewelry gal, I see Marie shaking her head, no, Julianne. She had seen my post on Facebook that day, saw where I was going to the networking event, Googled the place, got the phone number, called them, gave them her credit card to pay for my dinner. That's a relationship. That is talking about building these relationships. I could ask her to do anything in the world. She could ask me to do anything in the world. You build the relationships, you build the engagement, you realize that return. Now, I said that it would be happy as I try to wrap up here before they throw things at me. The second relationship story that I want to relate to you goes back to the reason that I'm here. Rochelle, Haley, and Chelsea, they are phenomenal in what they do locally, in what they do online. If you follow any of us and see our conversations, you know that I refer to them as the OC Angels. Well, it all happened very organically. They started referring to me as Charlie. Take off on Charlie and his Angels. So I had to share this photo that they sent to me of the angels in the Charlie's Angels pose. But the point is, I consider them very close friends and colleagues because I've taken the time to build relationships. They've taken in time. They've invested the time, energy, and effort to build the relationships, to get the engagement, to realize that return. So as a business owner, approaching social, I understand that you have to see the numbers. I understand that you have to see the return on it. But if you're not approaching it from the standpoint of building those relationships, you will never realize that return, ever. As a business, you must go to engaging. Final thoughts, check out your Facebook timeline. Find out who comments, likes, talks on your Facebook timeline. Do them a favor. Start promoting them. Start helping them out. Thank those that retweet you. It's a very simple thing, overlooked a lot of times. Thank them. John's Law. Spend one day a week promoting somebody else. Find out what their goals are. Find out what they want to promote about their business page, their Twitter account, their YouTube channel, their Pinterest account, and promote them. Spend a day a week doing this, and you will build relationships and realize that return. And last, but certainly not least, listen. Listen to what your network and your colleagues and people tell you. Listen to what they say. That's kind of all I had. Thank you.